Tell us about this book. How did it come about?
Well, I've never written a book, and there's been all kinds of books and stories and articles written about the Beach Boys since the beginning of time. And so I figured it was about time because, there have been several things that were not correct in the story that's been told of the Beach Boys. And so many things focus on my cousin Brian's ups and downs mentally and emotionally, and his brother Dennis, of course, and Dennis's relationship with Charlie Manson, which was pretty notorious. And, so I thought, my father had passed away a couple of years ago, and there are things I would have liked to have, heard from him or questions I'd like to ask and stuff. So I was thinking, my children, my grandchildren, friends, and fans that really like or love the Beach Boys music, it'd be nice if I'd give my account of this incredible odyssey called the Beach Boys, and that's what I did. And so I was introduced to a really great writer who is an incredible researcher as well. His name is Jim Hirsch. He actually helped me tremendously in writing the book and giving it context. Things like the night Brian and I wrote a song called The Warmth of the Sun. We went to sleep and got up in the morning to the news that President Kennedy was taken to the hospital in Dallas. Or the time we were on tour and getting ready to open the next night in Tennessee, and Martin Luther King got shot, and we were in primarily a southern tour. And going to India and at Maharishi's invitation and getting there, and all the Beatles there, John, Paul, George, and Ringo, and Donovan too, and Mia Farrow and her sister, Dear Prudence. So, some spectacular things, Guinness Book of Record kind of things, July 4th, 1984, when we had 900,000 people in the streets of Philadelphia and about 750,000 in D.C., and so we played for over 1.5 million people in person in one day, which is incredibly spectacular. So there was the highs and the lows, and then some misunderstood things or not correct things, which I was able to, in my recounting of the story, put things in proper perspective, I think.
One of the points that you made in the book was about how, for Brian fans, he walks on water and you're the Antichrist. And I think one thing that because I've read tons of books, I have most of the albums. Like I said, I've spoken to everybody except for Dennis and Carl over the years, so I know quite a bit about you guys. And it seems that Pet Sounds, you had, because this is, as you know, the 50th anniversary, you had a heck of a lot more influence and a lot more in its creation than most people would probably think.
Well, somebody, and I don't know how it started, but somebody said, I'd said, don't fuck with the formula with respect to Pet Sounds, which is absolutely untrue. I never said that. Matter of fact, I named the album, and as you pointed out, we had a lot to do with it because we came back from Japan and Brian had done these brilliant tracks. And we all went right in the studio and worked really hard on doing vocals. In fact, there's this a box set that was released, 19, 20 years ago, with just the vocals. There was one CD with just the vocals on the Pet Sounds album, no tracks. And it just shows how incredible and beautiful those vocal arrangements turned out. Well, Brian and I actually went and presented the album to Capitol Records, and it was they who did not know what to do with it, and it took forever for it to go platinum, which it eventually did because it's one of the more highly regarded albums of all rock music. In fact, Rolling Stone magazine did this coffee table book that had to do with this 500 top rock albums, and Sgt. Pepper's was one, and Pet Sounds was two. So, there's just some inaccuracies that has somehow had the life of their own, and I think in the writing of this book, it's not about settling scores so much as it is just giving my truth, my story, and what I contributed, and what I'm proud of, and maybe a couple of things I'm not so proud of.
Do you have a favorite song off Pet Sounds? One of mine that I think you really shine on, personally, Here Today.
Yeah, I like that song, and I love having been able to sing the lead on it and contribute to that. But, in a sense, on one level, it's kind of negative. You're talking about Love Is Here Today. It's a reality, but I like to accentuate the positive. So it's not my favorite song, but Wouldn't It Be Nice is a phenomenal song, you know. I think that was a great one. And we've been playing that in our concerts since the album came out. God Only Knows, Wouldn't It Be Nice, and Sloop John B. are three of the songs from the Pet Sounds album, which we've been doing since the album debuted in 1966.
Obviously, it's a very unique album, something that I think caught a lot of Beach Boy fans off guard at first, but now it's revered, and, you know, it is one of the greatest albums of all time.
Well, thank you. Well, you know, so I got a chance to write about, you know, my book, Good Vibrations, which also is an anniversary year, right? I mean, Good Vibrations is 50 years old this year. And as far as, you know, achievement is concerned, I think it's the most unique and avant-garde and at the same time extremely successful record. And I had the privilege of writing the words and coming up with the chorus hook, which is, I'm picking up good vibrations, she's giving me the excitations. So I was fully involved in that. Of course, Brian did the tracking sessions at multiple studios and came up with a brilliant track. And I think that song, for its time, was avant-garde, but it still sounds avant-garde. It's so unique. So I rate that really highly in terms of our musical achievements. There are many, many musical achievements, many great single records, but Good Vibrations was the biggest single that we had in the 60s, eclipsed only by, and I don't mean that artistically, but by sales. Kokomo was even more popular. That was 22 years later, in 1988.
Do you have a favorite Beach Boys album?
You know what? I am so oriented towards success and stuff. I named the album Endless Summer. It's a compilation, but it's got so many hits on it. And then decades later, Sounds of Summer with 30 songs on the one CD. And so, you know, every album we've ever done has some gems on it. So I think it's like children. You know, maybe Carl took a greater hand in some, maybe Bruce took a greater hand. And, of course, the earlier albums, Brian Wilson was the Stalin of the studio. You know, he was really in charge of especially of the tracks and the arrangements and stuff. So one of my favorites that I remember working on and really enjoying is Wild Honey. In fact, I wrote a song called Wild Honey that my cousin Carl sang the lead on. We were recording it at my cousin Brian's house, and I went to the kitchen to make some tea, and all of a sudden I opened the cupboard to get some, and there was a jar of Wild Honey, and I said, well, that's a great title for a song about a guy who's really into this hot chick, and in spite of his mother's disapproval, he's going to hang in there with her. So that was the birth of Wild Honey at Brian's house, going to make some tea in the kitchen. And I just started writing, and we did while the track was going on, I was writing the lyrics, and then Carl took the lyrics and really did a home run type lead. So that was a fun album to work on. Also, Darlin' was on that, and that's another song I wrote with my cousin Brian.
All right, real quick, because I know you got to go. What is it, 50-plus years? What is it that keeps the Beach Boys going? Why do people still love the Beach Boys? What is that je ne sais quoi you guys have?
I say the audience response. When we get out on stage and we play those records, children, teens, young adults, yuppies, senior citizens, everybody, entire families can turn out and have a great time at a Beach Boys show. And so it's wonderful to see that the happiness that our music has generated. And it's been so meaningful for so many people, whether it be Vietnam vets or single moms, you know, playing our records while they're vacuuming in the house. You know, I mean, there's just all kinds of mundane and, you know, incredible existential things have gone on over the years. But it's really the audience. It's really the fact that people still love our music that keeps us wanting to do what we do. We did 172 performances last year, and now I'm doing book signings, which is pretty far out.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. You've been a friend of mine for a long, long time, and I'll check you out the next time you guys are in Metro Atlanta.
In fact, we're going to be at the Cobb Center January 25th.
I saw that. I will most likely be there.
That's awesome. Thanks a lot.
All right. Have a great day.
All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.